Hello, and welcome to the third episode of the TMG Fireside Chat, the podcast series that is dedicated to the fire protection and life safety industry and discussions with industry leaders on issues and solutions affecting our markets. I'm your host, John Mackey. In today's episode, we'll be talking about the next generation of leaders with Todd Stevens, Operations Manager at Industrial Fire Protection, following his panel discussion at the Fire Suppression Systems Association Annual Forum just held a few months ago. Be sure to take the time to subscribe, like, and follow the Mackey Group blog on our website, MackeyGroupLLC.com, and the Mackey Group channel on YouTube. We plan on pulling together more fireside chats as we attend industry events throughout the year. You can find contact details for both Todd and me in the podcast notes, as well at the end of the video. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, good afternoon from sunny Puerto Rico.
Beautiful, right? Love
It's
it.
amazing, isn't it? I'm with Todd Stevens. You're going to get to know Todd a little bit better here over the next 20, 30 minutes. But we're coming to you from the Fire Suppression Systems Annual Forum. This year, it's 41st Forum held in San Juan, Puerto Rico.
That's it.
What an amazing place.
Too bad we're stuck in conference rooms all day today, huh?
Exactly. We get this podcast up in about 20 minutes and it gets you to the beach.
There we go.
Exactly. So today I wanted to talk to Todd about a number of things going on in the fire protection space, but primarily a discussion he just led around the next generation of leaders coming through fire protection, highlighting some of the things they see in their business, highlighting some of the things that they're challenged with and what they're doing to solve those problems, and what their perspective is in the overall industry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was a diverse group. It was the panel was awesome. I think we got a good group of people, real young to middle aged, and just diverse as far as owners of companies and just regular employees and
Right.
family-owned businesses, second, third generations. It was a great group of people to talk to.
Or an engineer who just got her MBA, or
Master's in fire protection. Yeah.
engineering.
Yep.
And she's been in the business for 2.5 years, right? So,
Yep.
That was a great mix in the panel, and a really unique set of perspectives.
Yeah.
All across all aspects of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So as we get into this a little bit, obviously you and I have worked on each other for a number of years. You are on the podcast circuit like I am. We've got mutual friends and Drew Slocum.
We do.
You just did his podcast recently, the Fire Protection Podcast, to give Drew a plug. And we'll put that podcast in the notes so you can see it as well. But, just Todd, if you could, just give the audience a little bit, who you are, a little bit about your background, how long you've been in fire protection,
Sure.
and who you work for today.
Excellent. Yeah, Todd Stevens. I've been in the fire protection industry for over 25 years, getting up there. Started as a designer.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Jeez, wow. And we are having fun.
Yes, we are.
Certainly are, as he's taking a sip of his beer.
Mm-hmm.
So I started, I knew AutoCAD. I learned AutoCAD in high school and just started drawing lines and circles and consulting engineering, and really took a liking to the fire protection side of things. And I wanted to just, back then, we were literally CAD people. We just drew lines and circles. We didn't know what we were drawing. The engineers did that. They threw the red lines over to us. We marked them up on CAD files, reprinted them. And so I really wanted to understand more of what they did and how they design systems. And I got into fire protection contracting and did that for a few years, so about 6 years as a fire protection designer, assistant project manager. And then I left that industry, well, not the industry, I left that portion and went into the manufacturing side and worked for a manufacturer for 10 years. They manufactured sprinklers, valves, clean agent, special hazard systems, and that was my focus for 10 years there on the technical side.
Both between, that was where you were all Viking and Minimax.
Yeah, Viking Minimax, exactly. Yeah. Yep. And really learned a lot. You can learn a lot from the manufacturing side of it. But my heart really was back in contracting. So I went back. The company I was working for in Boston asked me to come back and start a special hazard group. And I did that for another 5 years. And now I'm with CEVO Industrial Fire Protection. We're a turnkey design, install, and maintenance contractor, and we do work all over the country, special hazards.
Yeah.
So
what key vertical markets are you really exposed to at IFB?
The three main markets that we're doing right now is data centers, which is a little bit more of a crowded market, but special hazards has a good fit for data centers. The ESS, battery storage market, or clean energy, really that whole aspect of it, which is a very broad topic, but there's a lot of opportunities for fire protection.
Growing market, right, with regard to one, the volume of work coming into the United States, number one, and number two, just the uniqueness of the hazard, right? Lithium ion and ESS, and what those containers have in them, and then how do we identify and hopefully suppress or at least manage a fire condition. Right?
Thermal management. Yeah,
perfect.
But it's cool that whole clean energy market, and I didn't really even understand what that was, and that sustainability aspect of things, right? When we got into it, it was not just that battery storage that we were protecting. It was the windmills, and it's the, certain detection for solar farms and all that sort of thing. It all adds up where all that comes together, and there's just a lot of opportunities in that space. Yeah. So we're pretty involved in that space now.
That's great, especially being in front end of it and see it develop, right? And really influence how this thing shakes out.
And there's new energy companies popping up left and right. They're just, it's crazy. I don't think we can make containers fast enough for that market.
True. It's probably not any different than the cell tower boom that we had back in the mid-90s, right?
It's a great comparison.
The evolution of AT&T and Verizon. Before, I remember it was all local providers that became regional, that became national.
Yeah.
Right? And T-Mobile and Sprint and Nextel, and remember all those technologies.
Yeah.
And I think that we're on the forefront of that right now with regard to ESS.
100%. Yeah.
So that's great. That's great.
Then the third market that we are heavily involved in is aviation.
Yep.
Again, special hazards specific to everything in the aviation space, from the control towers to the terminals, as well as aircraft hangars, which is another big key opportunity there for the fire protection market, with a lot of the discussion with AFFF foam and other opportunities that are out there.
Right. So, yeah, we need to find an environmentally friendly solution.
We don't need to find one. We found one at IFP.
We do. Find a way to apply it to aviation.
Exactly. Right. Yes. Yep. Yeah, we're doing some dabbling with some opportunities with clean agent systems utilized in the aircraft market and within hangars, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah. So that's great. All right, so let's just dive into it. I think that as we think through the forum, obviously, like you alluded to in the beginning of the call, or that we've been here for 2 full days of the actual formal aspect of the conference. I think most of us have been here for 4 for all the board meetings and technical committee review type stuff, and so the last day and a half we spent, like you said, time in the conference room, topic after topic after topic, and you just led this great panel of next generation leaders. So immediate thoughts coming off that stage and leading that conversation. What did you take away from it?
Again, such a diverse group. There was a lot of similarities in the discussion between all the different companies, but there was a lot of differences as well, and just different ways of going about things. I think what I took away from it, one of the questions we talked about was, where do they see their company in the next 5 years? And they were all very strong in the idea of special hazards and focusing on that clean agent market, that fire alarm market. So that's good that we have a future in the special hazard market. And I think they really emphasize that. And even one of the engineers, a young engineer who's only been in this business for 2 years, she had mentioned water mist and the focus that their engineering team is going to focus more on water mist, with removing sprinkler systems and replacing it with water mist, which is a whole nother thought process. So it was pretty cool, that whole innovation. And it was good to hear that they were all excited about what's ahead. That was one of the bigger takeaways that I had.
Yeah, obviously a very diverse panel, right? Again, you had owners, you had second, third generation family owners. You had people that grew up in the industry and have progressed to certain levels throughout their career, and now one of them now became a chief operating officer and had the opportunity to buy out with an investor. The original founder, or the family, and then another person just slowly worked his way up. To now become the president of his company.
Right.
And so that diversity, it was interesting to hear, common set of core values with regards to how they run their business.
Yeah.
Every single person talked about the importance of people, right? Being able to really take care of your people, treat them fairly, have a culture around fun and collaboration and teamwork, and pay them fairly, give them opportunities to grow and develop. But importantly, they also talked about almost to the person. It's not about pay so much. It's about the relationship they have with the boss. It's about their connectivity to their community that they live in,
right?
And being able to work and have fun with their work family, both in the office and out. We all shared examples of things they do outside of work, to bring it all together.
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty interesting. Just again, the breadth of age that you had in the room, and then the different perspectives. They all came to some common perspective with regards to here's what's most important.
I think one of the panelists made the comment about empathy and integrity. Those are two things with employee retainment, and not only finding the good people but keeping them, and having empathy for them and really getting to know who they are. And it sounds silly. People are like, oh yeah, I want to sit down and have a cup of coffee with my employee, but a young employee that's new to a company, if the owner sits down and talks to them, that goes a long way. You know what I mean? So
it means a lot. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the benefit of the value, especially if you look at the structure of a lot of the companies that are in our space, right? There's roughly 10,000 contractors in fire protection overall.
Yeah.
And that's such in every aspect of our industry.
Yep.
And so in that context, there's a lot of big companies.
Yeah.
A lot of them are represented here at this conference.
Yeah.
But there's a long tail, 7,000 or more companies that are family operated. It's 6 to 8, 10 technicians, right? 2 or 3 people in the office to do great work every single day.
Yeah.
Right. But to your point, it's connections, empathy, being empathetic and really understand, hey, let's provide some great work and take care of our customers. Right? How do we grow it and just provide an opportunity for all of us to be successful?
Yeah.
Right?
No, agreed. And even one of the panelists, that probably one of the largest companies of the group, I think he said over 400 employees, just the importance that he had with doing group outings and just being involved, and just off the cuff on a Wednesday afternoon, grabbing a group, from a certain department and saying, hey, let's go grab a bite to eat and a drink and let's just chat. You know what I mean? And that was great that he, even with such a big company, recognized that importance of being connected with his employees. So
one of the things that you just made a point about, that the owner of the company, the CEO, the president, sitting down with a new hire, somebody that's new to the industry. One of the recent blogs I wrote, and the first video that I dropped just 2 weeks ago with Will's Moore was about the importance of mentorship and relationships.
Yeah.
Right. You and I've talked about it off camera in a number of ways about just mentoring others, and you've done a lot of that through all the roles that you've had.
Sure.
Especially when you're the president of FSSA, and how you're able to influence the direction of the association. One of the things we talked about in the Will's video was, I call that reverse mentoring. So it isn't necessarily, senior leader or top of the org chart down. We also see value in that new employee coming into the workforce, or somebody who's only been in the industry for 10 years or less, and mentoring up. Right? We call it, cross-functional mentoring. And it serves a couple different points. One was, you got the traditional aspect of, here's the business and here's how we do things. And just kind of help guide, mentor, and influence, that person's career. But also with all the changes we have going on in our workplace today, especially coming out of COVID, is it a hybrid workforce, or if it is, physically in the building, what does that look like now? And all that's changed, right? So this new generation coming in and working with their boss, or maybe even the president of the company, and say, have we thought about this solution, or looking at an issue this way,
right,
to create a culture of more inclusion, if you will, or collaboration with regards to here's how the business, there's a couple of things I think we should do as we run this business.
I was actually at another conference a few weeks ago for the data center market, and they had a panel, and they had an individual who worked for a company for a long time, and they were a manager, and they had a younger individual, and they talked about a mentorship program. And what was interesting is they talked this whole time during this panel, this hour-long panel, talked about how, the senior individual was mentoring that junior individual, but there was no physical structure within the company. It was just something that they took on.
Right.
And, everybody's like, well, how do you build this in your company? And they're like, well, we just do it. It's not a structure. We just focus on maintaining that. But we could do that so much more, I think, in our industry. And again, it doesn't even have to be somebody that we're employed, that is employed by us or anything. It can be just somebody here at the FSSA conference and becoming that mentor and just kind of setting a precedence, right?
Yeah, so, I agree with you. I don't think it has to be formally structured. There's no rules to it.
No.
Right? At the end of the day, it's relationships.
Correct.
Right? And how can we support each other in our growth? As it relates to, hey, we're looking at how to solve a solution, and maybe it's a complex hazard we're trying to solve for, or maybe it's a difficult relationship that we may have either with a coworker, or maybe it's the general contractor on the job site. How do we work through that? Being able to connect with others and just share perspectives.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Not always necessarily a right or wrong answer.
Nope,
it's
not
just
at all.
Perspective to say, hey, well, you've looked at it this way, a different lens, right? A different set of biases to say, it's not about it this way.
And I love that. It's not, to your point, it's sharing perspectives. It's not telling them what needs to happen, right? There's a difference there. It's because a mentor shouldn't be telling you what to do and how to do it. It should be, to your point, sharing that experience, sharing the knowledge, and building it from there. So yeah,
that's great.
It's pretty cool.
Any other takeaways from the presentation today?
The panel, it was again just the ability for such a vast group. And they all wore multiple hats. That was the other really cool thing. And you had mentioned, we talked about it earlier, the multiple hat idea, that they don't just go in and punch a clock, but they manage their time properly. And but they have the ability to just be where they need to be to make that company successful. That's the goal, right? Yeah. They're not just showing up and doing their one thing. And regardless of what their title is, they don't even think about their title. And that's what I learned from a couple of the panelists. They're like, yeah, I have a title, but it doesn't dictate exactly what I do every day.
Right.
The need of the company is what they do. Right. So the multiple hats was another really big takeaway, I thought.
Yeah, and the engineer we keep on referencing, she made a point about her company culture is that we are not a set of armchair engineers.
Armchair engineers. They're not an armchair engineer. I like that. Yeah.
It's great perspective. And, she looks forward to getting on the field and working, and seeing the projects they've worked on, or what they've designed, or what they've engineered, being part of that, the broader team or the broader solution. Nowadays, that drives the partnerships and the relationship between a contractor. It may or may not primarily be a fire protection contractor. It might be a mechanical. It might be a plumbing contractor. But they've come to a resource, in this case, a fire protection engineering firm, to say, hey, help us design the system. Right. And so she used the example to say, okay, I might be in the field, field supervisor how to install it, or here's how we design to do X.
Yeah.
Right. Which is a great perspective.
One of the other takeaways, talking about that engineer specifically, was that need in the universities for more knowledge on special hazards, right? And it's something that the FSSA has done recently. They created a task group to build a presentation to go out to not only the key universities that have master programs, but other universities that even have, just a general fire service, certificate or something like that, and just share more knowledge that we have with those groups, because they're looking for information. These professors don't know the details of special hazards, and they need people like us to help share that knowledge and get that information out there. And towards the end, we talked more about that. A couple of people were like, hey, I want to do more. I want to get involved in these universities and help support that.
Right.
So,
and I think, again, a great example of, connecting with your community, identifying where these resources are at. That engineering firm said that they start to identify, candidates for the profession as freshmen in college.
That's crazy.
Right? And it's internships and co-ops all the way through their 4 or 5 year program, depending on what university they're at. She wasn't going to say which university she leans to. We know. But that said, it's really to identify people early and educate them about the career
100%.
and the responsibility for the function. I think also one of the other leaders who's headquartered in New Jersey, he said the state has a program in place to incentivize companies to help get people off of unemployment and into the technical fields, right?
Yeah.
And so, great example for what New Jersey does. But think of that as applied, even if it's just half the United States, right? Just to get people that are looking for something different, right? And across the country, we know we've got a significant gap in trades, and you've got to find a way to solve for that. And those are just some examples of how to get people.
I think I'm seeing a little bit more light at that tunnel. I want to say a couple of years ago, it was like, oh, we don't have anybody coming up that's going to help with that support and be the next leaders and that sort of thing. But I think that panel gave me a little bit more confidence that there's enough people out there. They have to go through the weeds a little bit more to pull them out and put them in the positions that they belong in. But they're out there. So
they're out there, and I think I'm not a historian, but I think there's enough people that have been in this industry for 40 years or longer that are at this conference. And I'll tell you, listen, the challenges that we're having with the labor market today aren't any different than labor issues that we had maybe in the late 80s, late 90s. We forgot about that because we've had such a growth, for our economy and for the job market that it worked. Now the baby boomers are retiring. Now we're starting to feel that pain, right? It's not a one-for-one replacement, and the industry is still strong. We're growing at a rate of between 6 and 7% overall, year over year over year, and that's across all aspects of every solution we provide. So we need people. We need good people.
We do.
So
certainly do. So
all right, let's kind of shift gears a little bit. I know you've probably run through this in another podcast before, guys. So I'm going to steal a similar approach. I'm going to call it rapid fire.
Rapid fire. I like that. Okay.
Fire. So
bring it on. Hold on a second. All right.
So you grew up in New England.
I did.
Now you live in North Carolina.
Do.
When I will lead it this way: Patriots or Buccaneers?
Oh, really? Come on. That's easy. Patriots. 100%. We don't need that guy.
You don't need that guy?
No, we'll persevere. We'll get through it. It's a little struggle right now, but we'll find our next leader and continue to win some Super Bowls.
All right. What's in the bag? Ping or Callaway?
Ooh. Well, right now, specific to those two, Ping is in the bag, but I want Callaway. So you nailed it right there. I mean,
what type of Callaway should I have? What do you want?
There's a difference between what I'm looking at, what I want, what I need. The technology changes every day. It's so hard. Just when I think I found what I want, and they come out with a new set of irons that I just we'll see.
Yeah, very good. I hit the Callaway Mavericks a few years ago. Did not buy them. I went to Wilson Staffs. You see my Wilson D9s. I love my D9s.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I also hit the Mavericks, which are also set very strong.
Good. Yes.
Nice set irons there. All right. Your bourbon of choice right now.
Oh, jeez. I'll just start right at the top. Angel's Envy is my favorite bourbon of all time. I mean, I have my top 5. That's another hour-long conversation, but I know you don't want to go there. But yes, Angel's Envy is my favorite. Woodford's my go-to because you can find Woodford almost anywhere.
Absolutely.
Any location.
Rock or neat?
Again, that's
on your Angel's Envy.
Angel's in neat. Yeah, Angel's Envy. You got to drink it neat. Got to enjoy it. So
interesting. All right. So one last question. Since we talked about mentorship and the importance of mentorship, throughout the call, you can think back throughout your entire career, 25 years in this space.
Yeah.
One person that's either been most influential for you, or the one person that is retired or works at another company. You're saying, man, if there's one person I could work with on another project, it's this person.
It's a tough question. I'll pick somebody, but the reason it's a tough question is because I think even though I haven't made a lot of moves in my career, I mean, I was with basically in the last 25 years, I've worked with 3 different companies, right? But at each one of those companies, there's been somebody that is just extremely influential and an amazing mentor. Definitely Mr. Paul Terrio, who was my design manager at my first job in construction and contracting. And unfortunately, he passed away in an accident at a very early age. And but everything I used to say, everything I know about fire suppression and fire protection, I learned from him. But his key thing was about taking the initiative, right? So he was our design manager. We were all young designers. We'd walk in there because he had the answers to everything. And we'd ask him a code question. If you did not walk into that room, his office, with the code book in your hand, he'd tell you to turn around and walk out and wouldn't answer your question because he wanted us to at least give it a shot. See if you can find it in the code first. If you can't, show me where you looked, and if you found it, and then I'll help you. But that was a big takeaway that I had from him. But Paul was by far, and I think I'd love to do something more with him today. Unfortunately, he's not with us. But I think that's, yeah.
Well, I think, and you kind of alluded to it in your body language, but that experience from 20 some plus years ago still rings true today, and how you get your work done.
100%.
Right. And there was a foundational piece, to kind of set you down this path for your career.
Yeah, and the other thing that he taught really well was relationships. Yeah. We were a contractor, and he valued the engineering community and taught me the importance of having that good relationship with everybody, the architects, the engineers, the owners, the whole group. So yeah, a lot of takeaway from him. So
that's great. Well, man, thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you.
Thanks for the beer.
You're welcome. I appreciate it to get you off the beach. But really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And for those that are listening, Todd and I have known each other for about 10 or 12 years.
Yeah.
10 years at least.
10 years. Yeah.
And really good friends, but I think we share a really energetic, positive perspective on the fire protection space.
Yeah.
And his career highlights opportunities and how they evolve and how they develop. When you truly lean in and apply yourself to whatever that role is. To the CAD design side, to sales, and I know when you have both sides of the sales piece, getting outside that comfort zone of sprinkler and jumping over to special hazards. And now look where you're at. So congratulations on a great run. And
thank you. I appreciate it.
You're still a pretty young guy, so you still have another 20 years to go.
I do. Hopefully. That's my plan.
So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Please make sure that, as you do with every other podcast and blog, like, follow, subscribe, find us on socials. We'll have all the meeting notes on the YouTube page. You'll have contact information for Todd. You'll have contact information for the Mackey group. And really appreciate you taking the time to watch and listen today. And have a great Sunday.
Thank you again to Todd Stevens for sitting down with us. I hope you found our discussion informative and useful. As Todd highlighted in our interview, some of the key takeaways from the panel include growth areas in special hazards, fire alarm, and water mist. Each of the panel members talked about how excited they were about what lies ahead for the industry. The panel also talked about the importance of diversity and having a common set of core values to build your business around, focusing on people, empathy and fairness, collaboration and teamwork, and the role that relationships plays in our workplace, as well as our personal life. I also talked about the importance of mentorship, and connecting with others. And finally, we talked about how the future is bright. There are a number of opportunities to build great careers, similar to the path that Todd Stevens and many of the panel members have been on to get to the point where they're at. But again, building great careers in fire protection. If you'd like to contact Todd or me, please see our podcast notes or our contact details at the end of this video. Thank you for listening, and please be safe.